This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Gohan from Dragon Ball Super, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Excuse me, Gohan, this is more of a narrator type thing. Okay. Just do it more like a, next time on Talk Time Live. Next time on Talk Time Live. Don't quit your day job, Gohan.
It's time. Talk time. Let's go. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live. Started in the 80s with Matt Cross. Dudes in the hood might have called that soft, but I carried that cross like Jesus did. Fast forward, I teach the kids to learn how to let go, live life, and show love to all things that don't matter where y'all from. And luckily, there's a show called Talk Time. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Dax kicks the facts on all the geek news, special guests and unbiased reviews. Suburban kids, the hipster street dudes, all can learn something new. Me too. I heard words when no faith is empty. I stayed the course, so my haters tempt me. Beat the podcast, that'll make them envy. It ain't too trendy, it's A.C.M.G. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the journal of my life that covers all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the Prime Show. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a holiday season. And we are just days away. Just days away. This is the 26th. Just days away from 2021. Leaving 2020 behind. Actually, to be honest, we should not only get rid of it, we should burn it to a crisp, because it's just the worst year in history. It just is. And I know, with that said, I've had myself a pretty, I would say pretty prosperous in terms of this show. But we, even if people had some good in their lives, there was still a lot of bad going on between COVID, between, the police shootings and the killing of many innocent black people, and the criminal and the brutality that has been going on involving the police and stuff like that, and the politics and everything that's been going on. I've been blessed, and I'll be saying that again as I give thanks to everybody that helped make this show happen this year and help keep me going this year when we talk about our year-end stuff. But it's just been crazy, and I hope that many of you that are listening right now have had a chance to have some glimmer of light through all this whole thing, especially during the holidays as well. So, bless you all. I'm very happy that you made it this far. We are now at the final stage of 2020. Let's get to it, and then once we do it, let's play a new game called 2021 and make that a better game than the previous. No more bugs or glitches or anything that went on in 2020. We need to make this a much better play experience for everybody. So let's get down to that. But I digress. We are here to talk about the much anticipated Wonder Woman 1984 movie that just came out, available in theaters and on HBO Max. If you're a subscriber to HBO Max, you had the opportunity to watch it yesterday at home. And now we're going to talk about it today. That's going to be the main focus. That's going to be the talk topic of this week. It's really not much new going on in the world of A.C.M.G, but we do have one thing that I want to talk about in that segment, and that is the movie Soul from Pixar that also released yesterday as well. I won't go into a full review of it, but I will talk about a particular scene in there that I think it is worth talking about in this scene, because there's a huge message through the whole entire movie. It's an awesome movie. I highly recommend everybody go out of their way to see it, and I got a feeling there will be some awards given for this animated feature that they made. It's beautifully done and greatly represented, I can tell you that. But I want to talk about a particular scene based upon some real world stuff that really goes on that I've talked about many times, and now it's on the mainstream, and we're going to talk about it right now. So let's not waste any time. Let's find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
And now it's time to find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
All right, so after watching Wonder Woman 84, I took the opportunity to watch Disney Pixar's Soul, the latest Pixar movie that has come out, that is exclusively to Disney Plus. It's not playing in theaters. And I got to tell you, no matter who you are, no matter what color, shade, whatever you are, you need to watch this movie. It's an inspirational movie, to say the least. But I will say, for the people in my community, the Black community, you definitely need to watch this with your family, because this is a movie that inspires particularly our community in a way that we should. And having this in this type of platform and this format is beautifully done. Kids need to understand this, and the parents need to explain this to them, pending that they are the parents that are positive reinforcements to our community and society. But if not, this is something that you can learn, because they kind of pointed at something that has been talked about for so long. And I so appreciated that they added this onto it, because it stuck out like a sore thumb in a great way. And that is the barbershop scene in this movie. First of all, if you haven't watched this yet, basically I'll tell you what it's about. Soul takes you through the life of Joe Gardner, who is a musician, a jazz musician, who has been trying to get his break for God knows how long. His passion is overwhelming and relative, I could say. I dig the passion of this character, because it's the same passion that I've taken on to do the things that I want to do and have managed to have done through the past 5 or 6 years. So I kind of empathize with this character. And he finally gets this opportunity. He gets two great opportunities. One is as a music teacher. And he was a substitute music teacher at first, but then he got the great news that he became a full-on teacher with pension and benefits and everything. So he's now stable. He's not exactly happy, because he knows that doing so, he's going to get stuck. He's going to get stuck in the hole of that and not pursue his real opportunities to play in a major set and perform on live on stage. And not only does he get this opportunity to become a music teacher that he could pay his skills forward, and he's very talented, he also gets the opportunity to work with a very famous jazz singer by the name of Dorothea Williams, played by Angela Bassett. And he finally gets the opportunity, thanks to one of his former students, played by Questlove, to do it. He makes a great impression. He gets this gig. He's very happy. He's not looking where he's going as he's telling the good news to all of his friends and family. And after all that, he falls into a sewer and supposedly had died. So I was so heartbroken by this scene, because he finally got this opportunity. I know how this feels. I know exactly how this feels to get that opportunity, that yes, after all the no's that you get, and you get this opportunity only to die. The irony of that sucks so bad, but that's where they lead into all this. He becomes a soul, and he fights and tries passionately to get himself back alive so he could play in this set. He does so by meeting up with a character played by Tina Fey named 22, and she is supposed to be the most rowdiest soul out there, and she's been around for 100 years, and she was supposed to be mentored by the likes of greats of, throughout history, including one of them being Muhammad Ali. And she was they it's not really a female or male character per se. Is more of a soul that is going to lead into whoever they are going to be. So they end up wanting to be mentored by Joe. Joe doesn't exactly want to be mentored until he figures out that that may be a way for him to get back into Earth, into the and I want to say the real world, but the physical world of Earth, as opposed to the metaphysical version that he's in now. So he does this. They find a way to get back, and unfortunately, it mishap because Joe ended up getting into the soul of a cat, and 22 ended up being in his body. So he, in other words, Joe becomes a cat and 22 becomes him. And now they're working together to try to still get the gig, still make things, like it's normal, but also try to find a way to switch back bodies and get everything back into tune. And while they're doing this, they go through a lot of mishaps. Because 22 has no idea how to be Joe, and let alone be human, because the 22 has never been human before. And this goes into a lot of things, one of which is the scene where 22 and Joe's body goes into the shop after Joe and the body of a cat tries to cut his own hair, and that turned into a major mess up. And we really value our barbershop craftsmanship, so for him to mess it up, and then he has to go to the barbershop with the messed up hairdo, it's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever, because you go into a barbershop with a messed up hair and you trying to do your own hair, you got to hear from everybody, even people you don't know. You're gonna get roasted from the door. So the accuracy in this film is great, and I think a lot of that should be credited to Kemp Powers, who is the co-director and screenwriter for this movie. He is the black director that worked alongside the seasoned director Peter Docter, who also directed Up, Inside Out, and Monsters Inc., among many others in Pixar. And you could tell Kemp Powers was all over this. He basically, it looked like he was mostly there to make sure that there is accurate, to oversee the accuracy of our community being shown on a animated platform. And to that I say phenomenal work, because it was so dead on. The look of the characters all look like people. From my perspective, they all look like people I know around the neighborhood. So it was that accurate. Even though it was a little bit exaggerated from a cartoon sense, the character design was made to look like people that we know. The texture of the hair, the facial expressions, everything. It was just so spot on. So, kudos to both of them for putting this together and making it feel like home. It was just so awesome. Shout out to my man Jay Dixon in the A.C.M.G Facebook group, because he's a huge jazz. He's a jazz connoisseur, if you will. He's a collector of old vinyl, of classic vinyl, and this movie is right up his alley. He hasn't seen it yet, but he's gonna love it. But going back to that barbershop scene, so they go into the barbershop and they head to the barbershop to get it fixed by his normal barber, Dez. Dez is played by Darnell Rollins. If any of you guys know that name, he is the phenomenal comedian, most known for being on The Chappelle Show. Ashy Larry, if you will, among other movies that you got a chance to see, or TV shows that you got a chance to see him with. He's also worked with Kevin Smith on a few things too. It's a really, really interesting thing, them two working together, because Darnell Rollins and Kevin Smith are all about the buzz. And it is quite a pair with them. They did this pilot a while back about them him and Kevin Smith owning a weed shop, and I absolutely loved it. It had that Clerks type of feel to it. They never just followed up with it because they didn't have they didn't get the funding, I guess, but I really wish they would have came out, because I thought it was awesome. But one of the cool things that I noticed in this scene in this barbershop scene was the blaring of the instrumental used for A Tribe Called Quest, Can You Kick It? Which I know is originally a jazz mix as well in there, but like to hear a Pixar film with A Tribe Called Quest, Can You Kick It on there was surreal to say the least. I tell you, I mean, that was just amazing. It stuck out so well on there. But the biggest focus in the scene is where one of the guys in the shop started hating and throwing shade on Joe after he announced that he would perform for Dorothea Williams. Paul, the shade thrower, I should say, played by Hamilton Blackish and Snowpiercer star Daveed Diggs. Loved it. The guy's so talented. I love him. He is awesome. He played Paul, who was the hater in this scene, and he after 22 or Joe played as Joe after they announced that he was going to be playing performing with Dorothea Williams. Paul decides to throw shade and say, Mr. Close But No Cigar, he's not going to play with her. He's Mr. No Close But No Cigar, which if any of you in a neighborhood, any of you from around the way know, everybody has a guy like this, a hater like this. I notoriously have somebody like this that I've known for years who is like this, and every time something good happens in my life, that this dude gives. First of all, they always give you the look. There's a particular look that they give you, and it's a grit. It's a little grit and a little take back grit, like it's like, man, you ain't all that. But at the same time, it also reads like, what are you doing and I'm not. It's that type of buzz, and unfortunately there's a lot of people in our community that is like that, unfortunately, and this really is actually more, I would say it's more damaging than anything to our community for people to have that type of attitude. So after once again he announced it, and he said he's gonna mess up, or he's not gonna go through. He's Mr. No Close But No Cigar, and Joe had to tell 22 that this dude is always trying to bring him down. And Dez also tried to dismiss the comment in support of Joe's great news. Dez was all supportive about him, and that's when Paul stepped in, because he can never allow people to have good news. This is so on point. Like, this scene alone deserves an Oscar because of its accuracy. 22, as Joe Gardner and Joe Gardner's body again begins to talk about where they've been through the last 100 years, and people in the shop took it as a form of philosophy about Joe's life, when it literally was 22's life throughout the entire time. They were in another world. The people in the shop got so deeply invested in that conversation because they thought he was speaking like deep knowledge, which is something that really does happen at times. And through the conversation, Dez reveals that he really wasn't intended to be a barber, as he wanted to be a veterinarian. And this was also a very interesting thing here too. 22 asked why did he not pursue the career of being a veterinarian, and Dez replies, I was planning to go out there after coming out of the Navy, but my daughter got sick, and barber school was a lot cheaper than veterinarian school. But Dez said despite it all, he's happy. He's happier than the clam with the decision that he said, and not everybody can have that opportunity. It's a sad reality, but it's a reality that needed to be talked about. And unfortunately, that line alone that Dez said could go so deep as to why that didn't happen, and why many people didn't, go through the same thing. They end up trying to find the plan B. Everybody in the community goes for a plan B. They never stick to a plan A, or try to figure out another way to get that plan A working. And I could go on and on about that situation, but we don't have enough time on this show. And I literally had this conversation in this business panel that I was in for Black businesses about a week ago, and those subjects came up as well, and how we can uplift the community and how to make it better. And a lot of it stems from the mentality. A lot of it also stems from systemic situations that we need to break. Systemic situations within our own, within the community, and systemic things that has been built for generations outside of the community. And it's just too big of a discussion to go. But, it's just one of those things that he mentioned that is a factor in a lot of people's heads. So much to the point that when you have somebody like Joe Gardner to have that opportunity, you got a person like Paul who is going to resent it and hate it and not support it, because there's not that many of these opportunities out there for everybody. Whereas in other communities, these opportunities come so easily. And that's how these type of situations happen. Just a small idea of that. And that needs to change. And I'm glad that this animated movie pointed this out. And in such great exemplary and detail. Just awesome. So Des, is comfortable with what he's done. Although I would definitely say, like, I know deep inside himself he wish he would have actually done more, but he's happy that he at least made something of himself, which is it's absolutely commendable. Then he says he's happy with what he does. Not everybody gets that opportunity. And 22 replied, with me playing with Dorothea Williams, I know. This led to Paul, before he left the shop, Paul, a.k.a. the hater, a.k.a. the shade thrower, tried to throw one last hater punch at him before leaving the shop and said, "You not all that. Anybody can play in a band." Can I tell you how many times I've heard that from people? And particularly, like I said, I have my own person that I've had like this for years. And it didn't affect me at all, because I recognized what was going on and I just kept it moving. And every time as the years goes by, I still keep it moving. But every single time that happens, you always gonna get somebody that comes off and says, like, "You're not all that, you're not special." I literally had somebody who said that to me. I remember this happened in 2019 when I did the panel. I'm not joking. When I did the Keystone Comic-Con panel for Repop, and doing the two big panels, the one for the Street Fighter panel with the Udon artists, and the other one with the Overwatch cast, I literally got this in. I screen printed this, to which the person said, "You're not that special." It was the exact type of response, or a very strongly similar response, that the character Paul has done. And he tried to make it seem like it was a jokingly matter, and I know for a fact that it wasn't a jokingly matter. He was not going to support me. He was not going to do. And it was. Here's the funny part. Here's the even funnier part. So you got a guy like him, and it is a male. I will say that much. You got a guy like him who, wants to talk all this crap, and, he's going to support everybody but the person that he knows. He'll try to support everybody just despite my accomplishments. And amongst all that, he actually texts on my platform that I'm not special. Okay. But at the same time, as I work and partner with Repop, and I produce a contest that gives people free 3-day passes to the Keystone Comic-Con event, guess who was the one who actually tried to actually win this competition? And if he would have gotten the questions right and accurate and done it the way that it was supposed to, and I would have awarded it to him. I was unbiased. I don't take the shade from him. and try to give it back. Regardless, he still won he would still would have won a contest that I've actually put together. You can never take that back. But this person actually had the audacity to try to win these badges as well. And unfortunately, he didn't do it accurately. He didn't say it correctly, and he wasn't on time. And he never got a chance to win. But just the fact that he even tried, despite the fact that he said himself that he was getting, the media passes and doing all these things and still doing, like, first of all, why did he have to keep lying or saying things that wasn't true, or, for what it's worth, the guy has like anybody, he has the absolute ability to do what he says he's going to do. He just doesn't apply. And instead, he wants to do it the easy way around. But when he sees somebody that is doing what he wants to do, he's going to be resentful about it. And that's a situation that Paul is doing right there. So with that said, going back to the scene, Joe, the cat, told 22 to don't mind Paul. He's one of those folks who brings everybody down to make themselves feel better. That's just the beginning of that. 22 made a great and accurate clapback reply and said, "Oh, I get it. He's just criticizing me to cover up the pain of his failed dreams." I heard it the first time and it blew my mind. I replayed it again before I even started the show, and it literally, it hit like this. They broke the key. They broke the lock. I always tell people, when you got haters online, you got trolls online, and you got people who like Paul, like the person that I have dealt with for years, you got to really not take them literally. You can't take their words literally. You have to go beyond the words. You have to figure out the combination and to unlock what's really going on with these people. And once you do that, they will stop messing with you. They will stop intimidating. They will stop antagonizing. Once you find their combination, you have to go deeper than the words. The words are just masked on something deeper than what is going on. And if you realize that, if any of you actually realize that, do you know how much power do you have when you figure out what's really going on with these people? And even more, once you find out what's the matter with, the people that's antagonizing you, I still say reach out to them, because they may not actually be that bad of a person. They just been under some bad situations and they don't know how to get out of it, and they never had anybody reach out to them or be real with them like that, so they become resentful. And that could be the case. I know that's the case of the person that was with me. I'm still like, I've tried to be supportive to him and everybody that, is going to work, because I get it. Like, we're in a really crappy situation right now, but if you put in the work, if you put in the effort, if you remain diligent and determined, you will eventually get out there, because they can't stop you once you keep going, once you start making a lot of noise. I am living proof of that. And when 22 said that and broke that lock, shattered that lock. And that lock not only shattered the character of Paul, but to anybody who watched this movie and is Paul, they got hit too. I guarantee you they got hit. And when Paul, excuse me. Ooh, that was crazy. But when Paul actually got hit with that and 22 said that, and let me repeat that again. 22 said, "Oh, I get it. He's just criticizing me to cover up the pain of his failed dreams." Let me tell you, it hit myself and all the characters that were in that barbershop as they were howling laughing at Paul, because he got roasted hard. And what I would say, a mic drop comment, a mic drop clapback moment at the same time. And Paul's response was awesome. said, "You cut deep, Joe," and walked out of the barbershop. That moment stuck out. So, like, out of everything that happened in this movie, that moment stuck out hugely for myself. And I actually went back and replied to the A.C.M.G Facebook group, and I comment, I'm like, wow, if anything else, that barbershop scene from Pixar's Soul is beyond legit. And a lot of people agree with this, and who watched it. And yesterday, Dorfeast Jean on our A.C.M.G Facebook group, yes, it is my favorite scene. It's really amazing. Edwin Nashton, that wasn't a movie for kids. That it is made for the kids and us. And I replied to him, I'm like, yeah, it's also an inspiration. The movie is a great inspiration because it actually you take that scene aside, the entire movie is about not missing out on opportunities and to, find your passion and define who you are and do what you want to do before you go, because you can't take everything for granted. This is a movie that my people need to see. This is a movie that this was a long time coming. We needed to see this movie. We needed to see a representation in such a way, and we needed things like this to be brought up. If you have not seen Disney Pixar's Soul, go out of your way to check it out. If you're on Disney Plus, this is a movie to watch. Just in terms of best Pixar films ever, I will go out of my way to say that this is number 3 next to The Incredibles. But I still love both Incredibles movies the most, but Soul is a very special film now for me because it talks about something that we have not talked about in our community in quite some time, and this is indeed a great gift to us during Christmas to see something like this, to see us in a major platform like Pixar, and also to have the messages being sent out, by Jamie Foxx, by Tina Fey, by, Dez and, Darnell Rollins and Questlove and Angela Bassett and many others who came together to make this film. This is a very special film, a film that kids need to see, a film that adults need to see, that we can all learn from and hopefully help us get to that point. And trust me when I tell you, I hope that barbershop scene ends up going online somewhere, because people need to see that alone. People in our community need to see that alone, because that scene is pivotal to a lot of things, to the ideology of what goes on, and the ideology that we need to crumble and recreate into something much more better and positive right there. We need more Joes, less Pauls. And going in from 2021 and beyond. So that's all I wanted to say about that note. Speaking of gifts, we're going to take a break, come back, and in our talk topic of the week, we're going to review and give my thoughts about Wonder Woman 1984, the most anticipated movie of 2021. And did it meet expectations? I'm sorry, 2020. Did it meet expectations for our Christmas holiday? We'll find out right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go, and you are listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live.
Do it.
And now it's time for our talk topic of the week. Ready? Fight!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our talk topic of the week, and it is my review of Wonder Woman 1984, the follow-up to the first Wonder Woman for the DC film series and universe that they were trying to put together. I don't know if even that's still being put together or not, but, you know, at least we're still getting a Wonder Woman movie. Patty Jenkins, once again, directs, writes, and puts together a fine movie. Now, while I did enjoy this movie. I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought it was good, but it wasn't great. I actually still enjoy, me personally. Remember, this is mine and mine is alone. I still like the original movie a bit better. But this told a really cool story, and everything connected properly, and you know all the characters in play were really well done and portrayed. You know, it takes us back to the 1980s where Wonder Woman's next big venture goes into an adventure that involves the new villains Maxwell Lord and Cheetah. Cheetah played by Kristen Wiig, and Max Lord played by the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal. And in a very creepy role and a creepy version of Max Lord. Now, my first look at Max Lord was, in fact, not in the comics, but it was in Supergirl, the first season of Supergirl, that really ill-gotten series of Supergirl before they went to the CW, and Greg Berlanti, you know, made it much better than it was. Max Lord was one of the big villains there. He was supposed to be there, you know, her Lex Luthor. And to the credit, he was actually pretty good. You know, the actor who portrayed that Max Lord in there. This Max Lord was a little different. He played almost like a Gene Hackman-esque version of a Max Lord character. And in fact, the funny thing is, the whole movie, the way they filmed it, except for the beginning where they show the flashback of Diana competing in the Amazon games, which is a really cool scene, as Diana plays like the little girl who's almost winning this entire games. She's the only child competing against a large assortment of adult Amazons, and she's literally beating them, except she screws up by getting knocked off her horse, and then she tries to find a way to get to the finish line better, which I thought was legal until Artemis, I believe, or was it Artemis that I forgot the name. It wasn't Artemis that took her back. It was I forgot the name of the person that her trainer, actually, I should say, you know, stopped her from winning because, you know, the rules apply that you had to do it the way that they wanted her to do it. And they did catch her taking a shortcut to get to the finish line without even having a bow. Excuse me. So, because when they got on the horse, they had their bow and arrow, and they had to mark every single part that they were in. And she missed out one segment and forgot to get her bow and arrow, but still made it to the finish line, and they managed to catch her. So she got pulled off her horse so the other Amazons can win. And Diana was so furious and upset because she knew she could have won that way, but they didn't want her to win that way. It wasn't her time to win. And that was kind of a bit the moral of the story about being truthful, being honest and truthful for herself. And it plays into a lot of what the movie is about and what it leads into. So it's really interesting because now you have everything set in 1984. And the way that this movie was filmed, I felt like they used old school cameras. Like, I don't know what type of cameras that they used in the 80s to film, you know, motion pictures back then. And it had that little grainy type of look to it. I don't know if that was filtered in or not, or did they actually use the actual cameras for it. But it was made to look like a really old school 80s type of feel. And the bad part about this, for me, was that, all right, I dig that they had, it kind of looked like the old Superman Donner films, which was awesome. But when I felt like they went too heavy on the 80s theme because it was too campy of an 80s theme. And I've seen better, campy 80s type of, formats before that were done a little bit better than that, but it just felt a little bit too campy. How they portrayed Wonder Woman in the 80s and how they, reacted to it. It really, I didn't particularly like the way that they portrayed her in there and how it was some of about it felt too cartoony. I've seen 80s portrayals before in movies where it wasn't as campy. It didn't feel as cartoony. This kind of did in a sense, and it kind of really took me out, just a bit of it. But as you go through the movie, as you go deeper into the movie, it gets better and it gets better. When they start going into the plot and narrative of everything, it got a bit better. But just focusing on a lot of things. Now there were some really cool things that I did like that they focused on the 80s. Some of the little intricate things that they added on there, like for instance, there was a scene where they showed, kids in the arcade and, they showed actual old 80s arcade games like Operation Wolf that we used to play in the arcades. Dude, I haven't played Operation Wolf in ages. That game was so much fun back then. Another scene later on, which showed a bit of an accuracy to the 80s, was this guy who, I'm going to go ahead of myself in a sense, this guy who pretty much knew more about the stone that Maxwell lured. The Dream Stone is what Christian Wiig's character Barbara Minerva called it. He knew about it, but they went to seek him, and what happened was they showed a little shot of what appeared to be a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine with Jerry Lawler, WWE legend Jerry Lawler or wrestling legend Jerry Lawler on the front cover. First of all, I remember that damn magazine. I remember that cover. For them to actually find an actual book of that for this scene, it was very noticeable. I really marked out for that. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're an old school wrestling fan too, that book. You've seen that cover. So I don't know whose idea was it to put that in, but I thought that was so freaking cool. So we get this situation here where Diana's alone. Decades later, after the events of the first one, which was in World War I, is now 1984, and she's becoming Wonder Woman, but in secret. She's saving people's lives. She's taking out cameras so people won't see what she's doing. And I didn't realize this until the fact that they started mentioning, in the news, that nobody knows who this person is. So she's still remaining in secret. She is. She collects a lot of, but we knew this from the later films, that she collects a lot of ancient artifacts and stuff like that, and rare items and such. And she runs her own business to that match. She also owns a lot of properties. One of them she dedicated to Trevor, played by Chris Pine, Steve Trevor, I should say, and called it Trevor Ranch, to tribute to him. But she has been lonely and insanely lonely since the time. She's never been with anybody else. She never wanted to be with anybody else but Steve Trevor. And it started dawning on her and dwelling on the idea that she's been lonely for so long. At the same time, we have Kristen Wiig, who I think may be the standout of this whole entire movie. I thought she did a great job. And she played a really great hot 80s. She was the prototypical white female, the hot blonde white female of the 80s. In so many ways I can't tell you on the show. But she played it up really majorly on here. Really awesome in here. But despite the fact that her character is very formulaic in a sense, because how many comic book movies have we seen, especially from DC, where you had the geek character become a very jealous, or the jealous character who wanted power and wanted to be popular, and they come across this item that makes them what they always want, and they don't want to go back to what they were. I've seen this before. Last time I saw this was Jamie Foxx as Electro playing Maxwell. I forgot the name of the character that he played, but his name was also Maxwell. But he played Electro, but they played like such a geek version of him, of the same character. Another one was Iron Man 3. that was another one that did the exact same thing. So we've seen this character, but to Kristen Wiig's credit, she did a great job. She did a great job playing this character. I was really convinced. It was awesome. It was awesome. So she comes across this entire situation where she finds this artifact where it turns out that it grants wishes. And she wished for something. Diana also wished for something as well, unbeknownst to them of the ability and power of this thing, that this thing has been around for generations. And nobody basically knew that this thing is granted wishes like that, because it's just been out of touch for like generations until it got into the hands of them. Meanwhile, in all this, Maxwell Lord, like I said, played by the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal, is a man who is he knows about this item, but he's a failed businessman trying to make money. He's this pretentious rich guy with this company that's not making rarely any money at all, but he's spending money on, looking the part to try to accomplish getting all these oil rigs to make money. Because back in the day, oil was a big thing. Oil's still a big thing now, but oil was a major thing in the 80s. And if you owned a lot of oil rigs and sites, there's a possibility you could struck gold and you can make more profit and such like that. So he was into that, but it wasn't making that much money. At the same time, he has a kid that he's trying to father, I guess, but is not doing a great job. So he's just down in the dumps majorly trying to get this empire that he wants done. He knows about this item and finds out that Diana has it, and he goes in to try to talk his way into all of this. And comes to find out, he not only gets it, he gets it from Kristen Wiig, who all of a sudden wished that she was as cool as Diana and got that wish. Now, whenever somebody grants a wish to this Dreamstone, there's also a sacrifice. This Dreamstone apparently was created by one of the gods that Diana has come across in her past. And whenever somebody makes a wish, there comes great sacrifice. So Kristen Wiig got Diana's, not only wish to be like Diana, she got Diana's powers, and slowly her powers are also diminishing as well. Diana, on the other hand, wished that she got Steve Trevor back. They both got their wish. Steve Trevor came back to life, but under a different form, a different man. So I got confused about this at first. It was very confusing at first, but as I went along, I figured out what happened and how this happened. So it worked out, and he came back. So that's how Chris Pine came back to life. So at the same time, when this, what's going to happen near the end of this whole thing. And it was interesting. They went about it, try to figure out what exactly what was going on with the stone. Max Lord gets the stone himself, and then instead of wishing he can become rich or whatever, which would have been the easiest thing for him to do, he wanted the power of the stone, so he wound up becoming the power of the stone itself. And I thought that was a very interesting thing. So basically now, how he would make this work is that he would ask people what did they wish for, and when he wishes for that, he actually gets their wish, but he also is able to control the aspect of it himself, and he controls the consequences with it, to which it benefits him. Now, as he's doing this, the power is becoming overwhelming to him, and it's showing throughout the film how it's diminishing him in this whole entire thing. So it turns into a real thing. Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord is a very creepy dude. I like this character a lot. It was a very kind of everybody's character play like you would see in the 80s, but better. Like there was a lot of things that the 80s movies would do, but it would kind of be kind of hokey and campy. They managed to make this not as campy, except for that mall scene. that mall scene was way too 80s campy for me, but as it gradually went on, it got much better and better. And like some of the things that they did in there was just, it was, it just didn't feel like, if I watch a Marvel film, or even hell, if I watched a Batman film, the action that they would do would, in both of a Marvel film or Chris Nolan's film, it will feel logical. It'll feel like it makes sense. They got Wonder Woman in that mall scene, like knocking people out in a very cartoonish type of way, and throwing people around in a very cartoonish type of way. Like, I know she's super powered, but it just felt goofy. It just felt really goofy and everything. But like I said, the action gets much better as you gradually get deeper, and the story gets deeper. And while it goes out, I start to enjoy it a lot better. But Maxwell Lord's character, I like, because deep down inside of everything that he was doing and the greed that he was creating for himself, becoming immersed with the Dreamstone, there's a bit of heart to him. He's doing all this because he doesn't want to feel like he's a loser. He doesn't want to be a loser to his son. It ends up becoming overwhelming to him. It takes him over. Kristen Wiig's character Barbara as well. She doesn't want to be the defenseless woman anymore. She wants to be the strong one. She encounters a lot of jerks along the way, and especially this one guy who just almost he pretty much sexually assaults her in a sense, and she got him back during her way. And it's the same, because she's very nice to a lot of people as well, and you can see her heart changing as she gradually goes on. Somehow her and Barbara and Maxwell wind up teaming up later on in the movie, and she ends up getting a second wish to be a apex predator, which then you know where that's going to take her. And it did take her to where we wanted her to go. And I thought that that is, like I said at the beginning, campy. Near the end, it fleshed out to be a better film. They brought up the golden armor. They also I liked also that they answered a lot of questions about the Wonder Woman character that we always wanted to know. For instance, where the hell is that invisible jet? And that has been answered beautifully in this movie as well. As to how that is going to happen. And kudos to Patty Jenkins and all of them for writing that in so greatly as to how she got the invisible jet thing going on. And then also how she is able to fly. And we get to see all of the aspects of Wonder Woman in this movie. So that's one of the beauties of this film and the most enjoyable parts of this film. Other people that I noticed in here too, Natasha Rothwell, who plays Kelly on Insecure. She played a character, Carol, in here. It was really great, awesome to see her on here as well. It was a lot of great things. I do like the transformation of Barbara that Kristen Wiig. I was wondering, Kristen Wiig is such a great actress, and she's a great talent. She's been in Saturday Night Live she's one of the Saturday Night Live greats. I'm just going to say this now. And it's funny too, because I remember talking about a few weeks ago, I just saw the cartoon series, the animated series of the Looney Tunes show, which came out in 2011 on Cartoon Network. And I didn't realize that she played Lola Bunny at the time until I looked it up. And when I first started watching this film and hearing her and hearing her voice, all I can think about is how crazy the crazy voice of Lola Bunny on that show. She's a very, very talented actress. Like, I've seen her in other movies before, but I've really enjoyed her here. I really, really enjoyed her here because, when it comes to doing superhero movies, you're on a pedestal. You're being put on stage in front of thousands of hardcore fans, and you got to pull it off. And a lot of times when you're a comedian and you're trying to take on roles like this, you're really put on the front. I thought she did it not only in stride, like you expect Gal Gadot to do what she does, Chris Pine to do what she does. Kristen Wiig, I know she did Ghostbusters too, and I actually liked her at Ghostbusters. I am one of the rare people that really didn't mind and enjoyed Ghostbusters for what it was. It's like it really wasn't as bad as what people thought it was going to be in there, and I thought she did a good job there. But also, I think this was a really, she stepped it up majorly here. So to me, I think she was the MVP of this whole entire thing. I thought she did great in here. I thought all of them did great. I just think that she really played it out better. Also want to note that we not only got a lot of great fanfare within the character, but we got a lot of great fanfare of the fandom of Wonder Woman, period. Because if you stay till the end of the credits, we got a really, really good cutscene here. And out of respect, I was telling my wife the other day that she didn't know, because she's not a comic book fan at all. Not to say that she doesn't like comic books, but it's not her thing. But she likes watching the movies. She wasn't aware about who Linda Carter was. And I had to explain to her, because she rather wasn't born, or her parents didn't let her watch any of those reruns or whatever back in the day. But Linda Carter is a legend on so many levels. She is a pioneer in so many levels. And she watched I think she watched the interview on Good Morning America with Patty Jenkins on there talking about the movie, and they mentioned Linda Carter and all this stuff, and how Linda Carter, how Patty Jenkins and Linda Carter actually, still text and talk to each other through this whole thing, because they're good friends now. And I'm like, hell yes, that's like, when you're working in any of these type of industries, it's like a badge of honor to have a legend in your contact list. That's like me with Molly Flanagan, or Kyle Abert, or Ruben Langdon and stuff like that. It's one of those things, or Mega Rand or stuff like that. It's like one of those type of things where it's like you got those people on your contact list, and you have great respect for these people. And as great as Patty Jenkins is, she's still a fan. And to no matter how famous her, Gail, or any of those people are, it's Linda freaking Carter. So I had to explain to her, like, Linda Carter's the reason why this movie's been made, because of the success of her series and what she's done in terms of pioneering, the fandom for this character. That this movie was inspired by what DC has done for years, what the creators of Wonder Woman has done for years, and what Linda Carter has, her contributions playing that character. So why not respect that character by bringing her onto the show in a really, really cool tribute cutscene at the very end? So if you manage to fast forward to the credits at the end, you got a chance to see Linda Carter, as everybody thought she was Gal Gadot. Here. I forgot what the name of the character, and I'm trying to look this up now to see, because I don't think that they put her in the credits yet. A lot of times, a lot of people, when they try to keep secrets, they don't put everybody in the credits on IMDb until like weeks later when everybody has seen it. So I don't see her, but she's definitely in the end credit scene. And they also say special guest appearance from Linda Carter playing as a whole nother character. So I think it was here it is. They do have her credit on here. Asteria. So they have her on here because she's in the end credit scene. She saves somebody's life, and they think that is. I believe they think that it was Diana, or we thought that, us the viewers thought it was Diana, because she was wearing the same blue, outfit or coat that Diana was wearing, or Gal Gadot was wearing. Turn around, it's Linda Carter. And I got so excited for that moment. It was a great moment. It was a really cool moment. And, she even got a chance to say, like, the woman said, "You saved my life. I can't believe you did that." She's like, "I've been doing this for years, so don't worry." And they addressed her as Asteria, which is a interesting thing, because is this going to lead into a third Wonder Woman movie that involves Linda Carter in there? And if it does, that'll be absolutely awesome, because she deserves to be a part of this show, much like she was on Supergirl as the president of the United States. So this was awesome, a great tribute. I loved it. Overall, like I said, I liked the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I didn't love the movie. I didn't think it was great. I still think the first one was slightly better, but given the theme of what they were doing, I did like the way that it was filmed to have that 80s type of feel. And by the end of it, I really, really enjoyed what they did. It was cool. It was a really cool thing that they did. It was an 80s film done right. If this was actually done in the 80s, it would have been a perfect 80s film. It would have been the best 80s film ever. But even the campiness of that would have been okay. And I think that was the idea of the campy part. But I just still wish it wasn't as campy as it was. But none of that to me took away from how great how really, really great this film was overall. And it was a lot of fun. It's a very watchable film. Still one of DC Films' best that they've done so far. And I look forward to seeing what else they're going to do. Hopefully we'll get to see more of this. Hopefully we'll get to see DC Films get back into the swing of things. And, shout out to all of them. Really great. So if I give this a grade, I think I would give this a solid B. It was definitely a grade B. It wasn't like, and that's only because I didn't come out of it with that same feeling that I have for a lot of films that I've seen, like any Marvel films that I've seen in the past. I didn't have that feel, and maybe because I was already coming in with reserves. But at the same time, the first Wonder Woman movie was absolutely awesome, and I heard that it already got some great reviews before, but I didn't know to what extent. So, and it was certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but we're only at the time with the 70%. So I wonder what it has now. Rotten Tomatoes, RottenTomatoes.com. Let's see what it has for Wonder Woman, because it was 70 something. Oh, wow. It was 70. I believe it was 76 when it started, and now it's 67%. Still certified fresh, I guess. And 75% audience score. So I'm not a critic per se, but I'm more of a fan. I'll add on to that 75%. I think it was really a good movie, very watchable. A lot of good parts in there, and just overall fun. It was a really fun film. So I would give it a solid B. Didn't blow me away at all, but it did enough to get me satisfied and to rewatch it again. So that will do it for me, folks. Thank you so very much for joining me. And again, happy holidays, and pretty soon, Happy New Year to us all. The next time you will hear the Prime Show, it will be our year-end awards. Well, yeah, our year-end results of the voting that we've done here for Talk Time Live. They already voted for Best Anime, Best U.S. Animated Series, Best Comic, Best Movie, and the games, which I think is going to be the biggest one of them all. That's going to be the biggest vote of them all coming out. Also, a lot of other different categories are going to be coming out as well. So we got that going on. So a lot of that has come about, and it's been really cool. It'll be interesting to see where they go from there. So we got that going on. I am also going to be doing a Select Start episode where I give the top 10 best games I've played this year. And I've played over maybe like 180 games this year, to which some of them I had the actual guest on the show to talk about it. And I'm looking forward to that one. I got to do my homework and start researching everything that I played this year. This is, oh goodness, I've played a hell of a lot of games this year. Not adding on to the PlayStation 5 stuff too, and that's also something I will talk about on this week's episode, as well as my experience with the PlayStation 5 so far. And also, not only my experience with the PlayStation 5, but also my experience replaying Spider-Man Remastered again, or what I call the Ben Reilly edition of the game, because I'm not ever going to be convinced that is Peter Parker that I see in that game. It makes more sense for me that it's the Scarlet Spider-Man. in this case, taking over. But nonetheless, I noticed a lot of significant changes, but also some very relevant things that have happened this year that game captured on in 2018, and it is damn near creepy to the extent. So we'll touch on that as well all this week as we lead into 2021. Finally. So, folks, that will do it. Definitely go out of your way to check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, TuneIn, aka Amazon Music as well. Also Pandora and a few other outlets out there that I've been told that we are available on. Thank you all for coming on. Thank you all for supporting all of our new listeners, all of our seasoned listeners out there, and those who keep supporting us and everything that's been done here. But I'll do more of the thank yous on the other episodes because I got a lot of people to thank here. So definitely go out of your way, check us out. And also, of course, talktimelive.com, where you can check out all of our episodes here, but also and check back on all of the previous episodes, but also our exclusive interviews. A lot of definitely over 50 interviews, probably leading in the 60s by now, but I got to recount that, with some of the best in all of our favorite fandoms out there. So thanks again, folks. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great new year and so much more to go, God willing. So, folks, that'll do it for me. On behalf of myself, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Take care. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.